Well, good morning. So this is my first shot at this, and I appreciate the ability to try things out. You know, years ago, I think people had children so they could work on the fields and in the farms, and now people have children so they can work helping them understand technology. And unfortunately, my kids are away, so I'm learning this on my own. My computer locked me out, so this is my first one on my iPhone. So how exciting for me. So today's topic is probably the best suggestion I can give you in anything, whether it's sales or networking or connecting with people, is to ask for help about your personal life. Now that doesn't mean, hey, I've got this life-ending illness, what can I do about it? I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying, for example, when you're meeting with a prospect, you can say, hey, I don't suppose you can recommend a good place for lunch, can you? And I always say I don't suppose, because if they don't have anything, you say, hey, can you recommend a good place for lunch? They go, actually, no, I never eat here. I don't live near here. I only work here. And then it becomes awkward. Then you just say, what? How about those Padres? And congratulations to the Padres. I live in San Diego now. I guess they're doing extremely well. I think they won 8 in a row. Anyway, so my thought is, you say, hey, I don't suppose you can recommend a good place for lunch, can you? Now, they're either going to want to help you, one, to demonstrate they're better than you, because they'll say, you know what, go to Miguel's, I know the owner, they have the best Taco Tuesday you'll ever experience. Now, I don't really care if you ask me that if you go to Taco Tuesday at Miguel's, I want to demonstrate that I know the owner, because I look cooler that way. Or I might feel better about myself when I'm helping you. So I might say, hey, go to Miguel's. I go there all the time. There's really nice people. So please go to Miguel's. And I care about you, so I want to know if you go to Miguel's. So if you ask and you're a prospect, I might ask you next time, hey, how was Miguel's? So make sure you go if you're going to do that. So ask for help. What can it be about? It can be about restaurants. I live in California. It can be about traffic. Everybody thinks they have a decoder ring on the best way to travel someplace, right? So I remember once my son's basketball team made it to the state finals, and we were driving up, and I ran into one of the dads, and he said, how did you drive here? We were in Sacramento. And I said, we took the 5. And I was lectured on not taking the toll road. It's worth the $5, Darren, just in case you're wondering. So I got a lecture on how to drive. See, people love to help people. People are afraid to ask for help. If you have children, they're gold mines. My oldest son has received pitching lessons from former Major League Baseball players, people that love to help. If you don't have children, don't lie. Because I could say, hey, how's your son? You're like, I don't have a son because you forgot about that. So the best thing you can possibly do is to be authentic, be genuine. Hey, I don't suppose you have a tip. When my daughter became a teenager, I said, hey, I don't suppose you have a tip. I noticed those are your children. You have 3 teenage daughters. My daughter's about to be a teenager. I hear either she goes away to boarding school or I go away to boarding school, but something's got to give. And this gentleman took out this video series. And then he said, you know what? You're welcome to join us. Every Friday, we gather together to meet with other teenage parents, and then the teenagers hang out with one another, and we talk about what it's like to have a teenager. Now, I couldn't make it because it was a time frame. I had something else, but the gentleman gave me a video series on it. So very helpful, right? People love to help people. People are afraid to ask for help. And one of my colleagues and clients, Rod Hatley, so Rod, if you're listening, shout out, he said to us one day in our sales training class, you know what, Darren, if you want to be valuable, be vulnerable. And it allows you to be vulnerable. In a sales process, if you ever feel that people are uncomfortable around you, and we'll cover this later, is we were told as children, don't talk to strangers and don't talk about money. And if I'm meeting with a prospect, I'm a stranger looking for their wallet. So anything I can do to break that ice, and I become valuable by being vulnerable, it allows them to let their guard down. Now, how did this turn into a multi-million-dollar deal for one of my clients? One of my clients was told he had a sympathy date. The CEO called him and said, hey, look, the CFO is going to give you 15 minutes, but just want to let you know up front, he doesn't want to work with you. And he called me up and said, well, what can I do? I said, let's go on his LinkedIn profile. He said, why? I said, we're going to ask for help. And he said, okay, so what happened next? I said, well, there it is. He said, what do you mean? He said, the gentleman went to the Naval Academy, right? He said, yeah, so what? I said, well, my son is looking at college options, and who knows, the Naval Academy, or my daughter was looking at options, the Naval Academy might be a viable option. So you say, hey, I don't suppose you can give me a tip. I noticed you went to the Naval Academy. And I've got a friend that son might be looking at the Naval Academy. Any suggestions? And so what happened was, the gentleman who said, you have 15 minutes, it was like a sympathy date. If you've ever been on a sympathy date, I haven't, but you never know, someday people are. And what do you do in 15 minutes? So we asked for help. He said, before we get started, I don't suppose you can give me a tip or suggestion. The guy said, what's that? And he said, well, I have a friend whose son is looking at college options. And so I noticed you went to the Naval Academy. I checked you out on LinkedIn. I don't suppose you can give any suggestions on the Naval Academy. They talked for probably 45 minutes about the Naval Academy. And then the sales guy looked at his watch and said, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I've been talking so long. He had not said one thing except for tell me about the Naval Academy. One thing we all know in sales or networking or connecting with people love to talk about themselves more than anything else. So the gentleman talked for a long period of time, and then he said, wait a minute, before you go, just want to let you know that tell your friend's son to apply. It's the single best thing I've ever done for my business. And so then the gentleman said, well, I got to go now. And the CFO said, where are you going? He said, well, you told me I only had 15 minutes, and we are well past 15 minutes. And so what happened was the CFO said, wait a minute, when you walked in, I didn't want anything to do with you, but something changed during the course of our meeting, and I'm open to hear whatever you have to say. They talked, he closed a multi-million-dollar deal, and the only difference was he asked for help. So if you go to a networking event, you want to break the ice. Hey, I don't suppose you can give me a suggestion, can you? And they'll say, what? Well, you know what? I've got friends coming in from out of town, and I live in San Diego. I know a lot about San Diego. What's a hidden jewel? You've been in San Diego for a while. I heard you say that. What's a hidden jewel that you think it would be really cool for me to take my friends to? Once again, people love to help people. It breaks the ice. It starts the conversation. It's not, how was your weekend? How was your weekend? How was your weekend? You know why? Because you care about my weekend, but 10 people came before you that didn't. And they started the conversation. Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, it's what are you doing this weekend? What are you doing this weekend? What are you doing this weekend? If you sound like everybody else, you're going to get something you don't want back. And so the best time I tell my clients, make a sales call on a Wednesday, because no one makes them. Because you don't know how to start the conversation. Do salespeople say, how was your weekend? Or what do you got going on this weekend? And so what it does, it totally makes a difference when you ask for help about your personal life. Once again, it does not have to be something that's, I've got this illness, because people will get freaked out about it. It's directions, it's traffic, it's restaurants, it's children, it's sporting events, it's whatever. If you're dating, I don't suppose you can recommend a good place where I could take this date. Whatever it is, people love to help people. It breaks the ice more so than anything else I can ever suggest. And that's my tip for today. If you like this, please send it and share it. If you have any comments, I see a few people that are watching. Some people, Mike McCusker's won an Academy Award for Best Film Editing for Ford versus Ferrari. So shout out to you. And Paul Chassie, oh my gosh, we grew up together. And Will Froylan, coming in strong from the Ohio State University grad school. So it's very nice to see y'all. If you have any suggestions, comment below, share it with other people. Every day is going to be a different tip. And I think you can use at any point in your life. Former client Kyle is on here. I can tell you my children use this. Whatever I teach adults, I taught my children for years. And my son went up to his professor recently and said, I don't suppose you can give me help. I really need your help. And the professor in class earlier said, hey, a lot of you didn't do well on this exam. There are no makeups. So my son went to the professor and said, hey, I don't suppose you can give me some help. You probably can't. And the professor said, what's that? And he said, well, I studied really hard. I've been doing really well. I didn't do well on this test. There's probably nothing I can do to make it up. I really need your help. I really appreciate all that you do. And the professor said, well, why don't you think there's anything I can do? Of course I can help you. He got to retake the test, and that led to a 30-point difference in his grade. And it works in everything. I don't suppose you can help me. We'll talk about the benefit of that. I really need your help, or can you provide a suggestion? All right. With that, I wish you all great selling, great networking, great living. This is perfect for children. Teach your children. I really need your help. Don't suppose you can help me? And then ask away. So thank you so much. All have a great day. Once again, if you like it, please share it. This is all new to me, so I'm learning. And I promise you they will not be very long, drawn-out stuff. And I'm doing a 5-day challenge in a couple weeks. I'll start giving you more information about that. Thanks so much. Have a great day.